Everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double the Suspense, Double the Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by a sweet psalm inspired by Randy Wagner, based on the life of Dave, including Thirst, Quiz of Pains, and King David Psalms. Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalm Serena Wagner, and check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. 50 podcast platform, 110 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok today. We're here with an amazing lady who's an author of A Daughter Born with Joubert Syndrome, which is a rare autosomal recessive genetic disorder. We'll be talking about that affects the cerebellum, which controls balance, coordination, and more. And she was born with severe brain defects a half century ago and sentenced to a life of nevers and unwavering support. Her amazing mother, get to that. She's the oldest living person with the rare condition, despite the renal failure at 24. The journey chronic, which basically has led to a new memoir. It's called If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never. Live links to Jill and Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Livingston, New Jersey. The amazing author of An Amazing Daughter Born with Joubert Syndrome, and be talking about the book, a memoir, If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never, the multi-talented Jane Fischer. Jane, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on board. So you're author of have a daughter which is born with Joubert syndrome. That's Suzy, which is a rare autosomal recessive genetic disorder that affects the cerebellum, which controls the balance and coordination. And she was born with a severe brain defects a half century ago, sentenced to a life of nevers and unwavering support from you. And thank you, God, for that. And she's the oldest living person with a rare condition, and despite renal failure at 24. And it's a journey being chronicled in the new memoir, and how she managed to overcome dire medical predictions and lessons, basically, with those who have disabilities and the struggle and what is that syndrome. Find out more about that. And before we begin, Jane, tell us how you first got started.
Okay, so my lifelong mission has been to write Suzy's memoir because it's such an incredible story, which you will hear about. Unfortunately, life gets in the way. I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren. I worked as a teacher and learning consultant for 25 years, took care of my aged mother, so there just wasn't enough time to sit down and write a book. And about 5 years ago, right before COVID, I retired. And the first item on my bucket list was to write Suzy's memoir. It was very important to me for several reasons. First of all, I feel it's an extraordinary story. It's an inspirational story for anyone who's facing any kind of challenges. And I wanted to memorialize her life. I wanted, when I'm gone, when we're all gone, and future generations, my descendants to know their incredible Aunt Suzy. And of course, Suzy will never get married, never have her own children. So it was very important to me to write this book and have her book memorialized. It morphed into a much bigger project because as I started to write the book and as I sent it to publishers and editors, and it wasn't accepted right away. But what I found out, the theme that kept coming back to me was how her story will affect other people. And Suzy's whole life, and you'll hear about this, Suzy's whole life has been about making a difference for other people. And through her story and reading the book and hearing what she's been through and understanding what she's overcome, I truly believe that there are many, many, many people who will benefit from reading her story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my motivation for
Mm-hmm.
writing her story.
And what was that one exact precise moment that simply influenced you into writing the story? So what was that light bulb moment, and what were you doing at that time? Simply said, this is it.
It was when I signed that retirement contract, and I took about a week to just figure out what retirement meant, and realize that I actually had some time. I never had time, Mike. I never had time, and I knew this was, as I say, my lifelong mission. And the light bulb moment was about a week after retirement, sitting down and saying, okay, where do I begin? And the only place to begin is at the beginning. So chapter 1 began with Suzy's birth.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that led up to our life before Susie's birth. And that was the light bulb moment for me. And then, of course, you just keep going, you know.
Hmm. That's really interesting. Starting at chapter one, Susie's birth and everything like that. You figure that everything's gonna be normal, everything's gonna be great, but then you also suspected something is wrong as well too. It's like, how'd you know in that moment that you suspected something's wrong?
So first, let me begin. I have three children, and my Susie's older sister, Beth, was 2.5 years old when Susie was born. So I had some idea what it was to have a baby and raise a baby, and of course, I had some idea what milestones meant. From minute one, I was not awake when Susie was born because she was a breech birth, and I was given anesthesia. I did not know that at the time Susie had abnormalities right from second one.
Oh,
She, in and of itself, and just to mention some of the abnormalities, she was born with an extra pinky, an extra digit on both hands. In and of itself, that wouldn't have meant very much. It would have meant that she had to have it removed within 24 hours, which what there was. She also, her head was out of proportion with the size of her body. Now, you wouldn't look at her and say, oh, she has a big head, but when you looked at the measurements, you knew that something was not right. She also had a very poor suck. Now, in and of itself, none of these things in isolation would have said, oh, this baby, something's wrong with this baby. But when you put it together, it was a cause for concern. Again, I did not know any of this. Susie was born at 8:15 in the evening. My husband, of course, was being told about these anomalies. All I knew about midnight, I wanted to see my baby. I had not seen my baby yet. And I knew enough to know that was not that was not right. Something was wrong. And I started to make a lot of noise and want to see my baby. And they brought her to me about 2 o'clock in the morning. And honestly, Mike, when they put her in my arms, all I saw was my precious little baby girl. I didn't see anomalies. I didn't see special needs. I was all of 24 years old myself, and this was my second baby. That morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, my pediatrician, who was also a family friend, came into the room and started to tell me that Susie had some significant issues. They didn't know what it meant. They didn't know exactly what the prognosis was, but they knew that there was something wrong. And my husband came in, and at that time, my brother, who was a resident at Mount Montefiore Hospital in New York, who actually was doing a residency in pediatrics, he came in. And again, I'll never forget the look on his face. He was this ashen color, and you could see the pain in his eyes that they began to tell me. They brought Susie in. I tried to nurse her. She couldn't latch on to my breast. She had no ability. Her oral motor deficits were so apparent. And that's how her life began. The first 24 hours, we knew that something was wrong. We didn't know how significant it was, but something went wrong during utero.
hmm
That's
and
how
of
her
course,
life.
and of course, the thought that ran through my mind was, did the ultrasound test detect anything like that? Or I guess you kind
Now,
of wonder, is that, was there any detection that something was wrong? Or like say it was like first trimester, second trimester, or third trimester?
now keep in mind, Susie was just 51 years old. So we're talking about 51 years ago. I had a baby already who was fine. There was no reason to believe that there was any genetic connection, which we'll talk about later on. I had a perfectly normal pregnancy. I was so young. I was a young woman. I was considered very low risk, for problems. So no, there was no amniocentesis. There was no ultrasound. There was no they just didn't do that 51 years ago for such a low risk pregnancy.
Okay.
So
Right. We're just checking on that. You talk about the genetic connection, everything like that. We got some little time to talk about that too. So,
So, um, and I want to come back to that because as we went on, we went the first 3 months of her life, we didn't know there was any she had any sight. She could not follow light. She didn't. They thought she was blind. We went to a pediatric neurologist at Columbia Presbyterian, one of the greatest and most renowned individuals, who basically told us that Susie had serious, significant disabilities. They didn't think she would ever walk, talk, learn. And he basically said to me, "You have a 2.5-year old, you have a husband, you're young enough to have other babies. Maybe you should think of a residential placement for her." And I didn't know what did it even mean? This was my baby. And I left there and I remember thinking, residential placement, this is my child. And
I have
whatever,
never heard that. It sent chills to my spine. Like, why?
exactly, exactly. And I remember thinking to myself, and I said this to my husband and my brother, don't even think about it if you're thinking about it.
Right.
I knew I had two choices. I could buy a lot of stock in Kleenex and cry for the rest of her life or begin to fight. And I didn't know exactly what that meant because don't forget, Mike, there was no internet. There was no Google. I couldn't go home and type and punch in infant disabilities, how do you begin? Or no AI now who would just spout a list of things. I was on my own. I really was on my own. But I knew that I was going to find find a place, find professionals who would help me help her. I wasn't going to let my baby languish and just lie in a carriage. And I knew I needed to stimulate, but I didn't know what that meant. So after a lot of phone calls, that's what we did in the old days, a lot of
Hmm.
phone calls, one person telling another person. There now it's very commonplace, but then there was something called infant stimulation that was only at a Hunterton Hospital in Flemington, New Jersey. It was about an hour and a half away from me. I had a 2.5-year-old, but it was the only place around to take Susie to help me or teach me how to help her. So that's what we did. We went 5 days a week. We went to infant stimulation. We came home. We continued the stimulation. And again, and this is important too, because again, I had a toddler at home. My daughter Beth was probably Susie's greatest and most important therapist and teacher because she included Susie in everything, whether it was house or store or a dancing school, any kind of game. She bombarded Susie with a lot of language stimulation. She didn't know she was doing it. She was in preschool herself,
Hmm.
but
It,
she
it,
was
it,
doing
se- it seems pretty natural for sister to sister to bond like that. It's almost like spoken, unspoken, everything like that. And how to come to having Joubert syndrome with Susie. We'll find out with Jana Fischer and Jane Fischer in the book. If you knew Suzy, pushing past the boundaries and never will get that in a minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SoundCloudStudios.com for all your needs. Look on a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960 or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, one target, where truth is illusion and those will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson Zia's got great reviews. And Evil Evan endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double Expense, Double the Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including Theory's Quiz of Pains and King David Psalms. But Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through Psalms he wrote as the time of shepherd started and complicate your turbulent relationship with King Saul. a story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also, check out The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. 50 podcast platforms, 110 countries. Tickets with you on any mobile device. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, also Spreaker, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeart, YouTube, and more. And for great gift ideas like t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Me and Most and Zia Missing for great books, merchandise, and more. And support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Here's the amazing author of A Daughter Born with Joubert Syndrome, Jane Fischer, here on the Mike Wagner Show. A Story of Resiliency. The memoir is called If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never. And before we get to more about Suzy, and how'd you first came across with Joubert Syndrome? And, our wishes get to about what exactly is Joubert Syndrome from your perspective?
Okay, so um, Suzy, when Suzy was about, I guess, 6 years old, I always wanted a third child. I had my daughter Beth and Suzy, and I always wanted a third child. Now we were told at that time, etiology unknown. We didn't know. There were a lot of theories. I ate something in my first trimester, and I had food poisoning. There were a lot of theories why Suzy had all these disabilities. My husband was very reluctant to have the third child. He was scared, and understandably. I mentioned my brother before. My brother was a geneticist at University of Pennsylvania Hospital, and I told him about the conflict my husband and I were having. And he said, Jay, he said, honestly, there's no reason to think that Suzy has a genetic problem, but I'll bring you both down to University of Pennsylvania, and we'll go through all kinds of genetic testing, which we did. And it turned out, we brought us back several months later, and you had some of the top geneticists in the country at that time. And we were told that there was no reason to believe that Suzy's issues had anything to do with genetics. And we should go, if we wanted a third baby, there was no reason from a geneticist standpoint to prevent us. So we went on and we had our third baby, my son, Ben. And thank God we didn't know about you, Bears, then. I'm going to come to that in a minute. And he is just the most incredible young man. He adores Suzy, and she's been very blessed with a wonderful sister and brother who are both her advocates, her crusaders, and you know, they're her cheerleaders, her greatest cheerleaders.
Very nice.
About 10 years ago, my brother called me, and Suzy was just about 40 at this time. What I didn't tell you, and I want to go back to,
Oh, go ahead, by all means.
besides her special needs, which can talk about more, when she was 24 years old, she was diagnosed with kidney failure. And we had no idea that Suzy had any issues with her kidneys. But again, it was another whole part of her life, and we began to look for the only thing that makes sense was I was going to give her my kidney. I gave her life. I was going to give her back her life. I turned out to be the wrong blood type.
Whoops.
Yeah, Suzy is blood type O. O is a universal donor, but O can only get from O.
Right. Is that an O positive or O negative?
It doesn't matter. Either
It
O.
doesn't. Okay. Just want to check.
So I'm blood type A, and her father, of course, is blood type O. But it turns out where he's had 7 kidney stones. So he couldn't donate. So she was in the wrong line, Mike, wherever we went. And I'll come back to her transplant, but I don't want to leave you bare, so I'll tell you how.
No. That's no problem. I mean, this is a journey I'm experiencing too. So keep going. Oh my gosh.
So I'm going to come back to her transplant. But so about 10 years ago, my brother called me and he said, Jay, I want you to come down to Penn. He said, there's a new syndrome called Joubert's. He said, and it's just been identified. The gene has
Oh
just been
wow.
identified. But if you read about it, it sounds like Suzy. Extra digits on both hands, poor suck at birth, cognitive disabilities, cognitive deficits, a motor involvement. But before you come down, I want you to take her for an MRI of her brain. I said, what? after all these years, you're telling me to take, she's had MRIs of her brain. He said, do it for me because there's a characteristic called molar tooth that's symbolic of the Joubert's syndrome. So we take it for the MRI, and lo and behold, show it bring to the doctors at Penn, and she has this characteristic of the molar
Oh,
tooth.
wow.
My husband and I went to Penn. We brought Susie to Penn. Now, this is important to understand. The gene is very, very rare. The gene for Joubert's is very rare. In order for the offspring to have Joubert's, both parents have to have this gene. If one parent has the gene, it's not an issue. But if for the child to have Joubert's, both parents, the possibility of my husband and I both having this gene was one in millions. But we went down, we brought Susie, and we were the lottery winner or the winner of Joubert's. My husband and I do have the gene, and Susie has the gene.
Oh,
So
my goodness.
she has this, and and I started to talk about transplant because many children with Joubert's have had issues with their kidneys. They've need now. What's fascinating about this, because it's such a new syndrome, and because it's such a rare syndrome, Susie is the oldest in the world that's been identified with Joubert's. That's not to say there haven't been other people who have had Joubert's, but they just didn't know about it. They were never
Hmm.
tested, and we just didn't know. So the medical community is watching her very, very closely. She's a trailblazer, if you will, because they're watching how her issues unfold, and they are unfolding, you know.
Hmm.
So my writing this book, and we'll talk about this young lady who was never supposed to talk, walk, she was a residential placement was her 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 uh, her sentence in life. How she's defied her sentence. She's gone far and beyond what any of the doctors have predicted. And she does it with the most graceful ebullience, warmth. She changes the world one person at a time.
Nice.
So she is, and that's why her story, it's her special needs, it's her very, very rare syndrome, which is really teaching and educating the professionals and the doctors. I have people call me daily whose children are now they know about Joubert's and now they're testing for it and they're watching Susie. And my plea is don't give up. Keep fighting because no one knows your child like you do. And the truth is, when I go back and I think about her life and what she's been through and how she's made a difference in this world, I believe that it doesn't matter what, if you believe in God or whether you what religion you are or what race you are. She was sent to us to teach, and she does that every single day in one way
Hmm.
or another.
Oh my gosh, I am so moved by this whole thing. And of course, having all these medical predictions and everything else, maybe some of the symptoms that you have. And how did she manage to overcome all that? For those who have the Joubert syndrome or any kind of syndrome, you might want to pay attention. So maybe give some examples on how she managed to overcome like these certain things. And then whoever has those, you might want to pay attention.
Interesting, Susie, in spite of her disabilities, she is the most social. She loves what her IQ might lack, her EQ makes up for. And I don't know, let me explain that. IQ is, of course, we all know what a person
Right.
is.
Intelligence quotients, how
Right.
smart you are, that stuff. Yes. Hmm.
Right. And EQ is emotional intelligence.
Oh, yeah, that'd be like EI, right? Emotional
Correct.
intelligence. Okay,
Correct.
got it.
And Susie, it's interesting. She's always known what she should be doing, but her body doesn't allow her to achieve in a timely fashion, but she has the most tenacious, brave, and hardworking. I mean, like she would see my daughter, and I'll give you certain examples. She saw my son go to sleepaway camp when she was about 10 years old. She saw my son go to sleepaway camp. And she said, Mommy, I want to go. And I said, you're going to leave me? You know, we were connected by the hip and the heart. And she knew this is what a lot of kids her age do. And she wanted to go. And there was no way I was going to let her go. And that's when my husband, who intervened, and he said, it's not about you. You know, we have to, if she wants to go, let's try to find a camp. So we looked all over for a camp for special needs children. And there was Camp Northwood was the name of the camp in Utica, New York. And I sent her files there, and the owner called me up and he said, it's not appropriate. You know, I just think that she's too low functioning. So I said to him, look, Jim, let me fly up to your camp. You meet Susie. And if you don't think she's a candidate for your camp, you'll never, we'll part friends, we'll shake hands, and you'll never, I won't bother you again. So we did. We flew, and this is a funny story. Susie will tell you. I'm a terrible flyer. I hate to fly, and it was a prop plane. We had to fly from New Jersey to Utica, New York, and I said, I'm not going on this plane. Look at the size of this plane. And Susie turned to me. She says, Mom, I'm with you. Hold my hand. Come on, we got to go on this plane. You know, and
There's one that she loves is flying. That's another one. She helped you overcome your fear of flying. Good for her.
she helped so many overcome their fear of so many things. And I did. We went up, and Jim picked us up at the airport. We got to the camp. And as soon as he met her, holds her hand down. She says, Hi, Mr. Ryan. I'm Susie Fisher. I'd love to come to your camp. I want to be such a proud camper. And whoever she met during the course of that day, it was the same kind of thing. And it's not because Mike, she was manipulating or she was trying to in any way fool anyone. She doesn't know how to do that. She's so pure of soul that whatever she says or whatever she means, it's nothing but innocence. And she went through the day and she said, Oh, I can't wait to ride a horse. I would love to ride a horse. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how is she going to get on a horse? They said she'd never walk. Well, when he took us back that day, he said to me, Jane, not only do I want her, he said, not only do I welcome her to our camp, not only what an asset she'll be, but never let anyone judge Susie on paper again by a score or by a number or let you have to meet Susie to understand how and what an incredible person she is. And she stayed at Camp Northwood for about 12 years. And she became their, she walked around telling any new camper, you got to come here. It's the most wonderful place in the whole world. She became their advertisement, for Camp Northwood.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Free advertising. Why
Yeah,
not?
exactly. Exactly. And that was only one she always knew what she should be doing. She watched Beth, she watched Ben, and she always wanted the opportunity. She saw them go to college. She came to me one day, she says, I want to go to college just like everyone else. Well, we all know that she wasn't going to go to college. But again, we had to try to way to it happen, make it happen for her. So she went to it's a school that teaches life skills and teaches career skills. And I didn't know what that meant for Susie, but I knew she deserved the opportunity to at least try. And she did. She went to Maplebrook School in Armenia, and she was trained in daycare. And
Oh, nice.
yeah. And when I met, it was an Astor, it was a Head Start program. And I went to meet the director, and I said to her at the time, I said, tell me the truth. I need to know because I need to start planning her life for her. I've been planning her life for many years, but I need to continue to plan. I said, are you really being kind, or do you see Susie working in daycare? And I'll never forget her answer, Mike. She said, let me answer it this way for you, Jane. When Susie isn't here, we are shorthanded.
Oh, that makes sense.
So we knew that this was, an area that she was destined. She loved little ones. And to this day, she's working in a preschool program, and they absolutely adore her. She makes a difference, for everyone there.
Oh my gosh.
The hardest part of her journey, in addition to the special needs, but she's had so many medical issues. We finally found a kidney. She was on dialysis. She was very, very sick. But again, keep in mind, she was 24 years old walking into this dialysis center with mostly elderly people, and she became everybody's sweetheart. She
Nice.
walked into the dialysis center. She said, "Hi, Margie, how's your toe? You feeling better? Hi, George. Did your son get accepted to college yet?" She has this uncanny
Oh
ability
my
to
gosh. Remembering, that's amazing. My goodness.
she has this uncanny ability to remember dates and times and names and places. And she became, when she walked into the dialysis center, everyone was like, "Susie, come sit next to me. You can be on, the machine is empty on." And I thought to myself, oh God, she has to be so popular in a dialysis. But she went on, she has had so many health issues. And she went on to get the kidney, and then it failed 10 years
Oh,
later.
oh my gosh.
But we needed a second transplant. And in between the transplants, she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
Oh my goodness.
So she needed a total thyroidectomy.
Ooh.
But the takeaway is, as hard as it's been, and as I believe unfair it's been, she's melted the hardest of hearts. And she showed such genuine firmness of mind throughout the darkest periods of her life and the kindest heart. She's been in the hospital so many times, but she has she goes into patients' rooms and she'll say, "Come, you have to get out of bed. Let's take a walk." And I'm thinking to myself, she's got a tube on the left side, a tube on the right side, intravenous coming from it, and she's coaching everyone else to come take a walk. You need to get out of bed.
Ah,
So my cognitively impaired, and she is cognitively impaired, academics are extremely difficult for her. Reading comprehension is difficult. Making change is almost impossible. But when it comes to understanding people and their feelings and knowing how to reach out and touch, I've seen her melt the doctors who don't make eye contact with her because they don't think she's going to understand very much. I mean, another very quick story. When she had her second transplant, the surgeon came into the room and he was talking to me, and he wasn't making, it was a beautiful Sunday morning. And I was asking a lot of questions. And you
hmm
could see he was getting annoyed. He wanted to leave.
Right, exactly. Uh-huh.
You know the deal I'm talking about. And he pivots around and he's leaving. And I'm saying, "What? Just 1 second, doctor. I want to know what." And she hear her say, "Mom, leave him alone already. He's got children. He's got a wife. He wants to get home. It's Sunday." Well, this doctor turns around, looks at her, and then looks at me and says, "What planet does she come from?" And of course, I said to him, "One that you and I will never know." And from that time on, Mike, whenever this doctor, the nurses laughed because they said, "He has teeth. We've never seen his teeth. He's never smiled." But from that time on, when this doctor came into her room, he would say, "Hey, kid, how you doing?" And this is what she does to people. She's just her courage and her ability to reach out and touch. Her love permeates every part of every heart. And that's why I think if you read the book, If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never, you will see that no matter what you face or what you think is hard, you will rethink what you will rethink your beliefs when you realize what she's been through and how she has handled it and what she's accomplished. And it's an extraordinary story. I only touched upon the issues, but it's special needs or medical issues or certainly her rare syndrome, she's incredible.
And
How
what some lessons learned as well too? We'll find a minute with author Jane Fischer of If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mustanzy Missing, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of Dave, including 30 Ways of Pains and King David Psalms, Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. We'll be back with amazing author Jane Fischer of If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never after this time out. Rebecca, author Jane Fischer of If You Knew Suzy, pushing past the boundaries of never here on the Mike Winter Show. I wish Suzy was here right now, to be honest
Me
with you.
too. Yes, yes. You have
Uh,
to. I'm sorry. I should have had her here. You have to
oh,
meet.
that you know what? That's okay. I'm feeling Suzy right here, to be honest with you. I got to say that. Now, if she was here with me, it's like maybe we can play checkers or something like that, but that's another time.
Definitely,
There you
definitely.
go. So anyway, we learned some lessons and some inspiration. What are some of the other lessons that people can learn from all this? Family finding hope, and of course, families affected by disability support. And how can people learn from this, and how can people get help in, especially trying to get more support, not just Joubert syndrome and others with disabilities?
Absolutely. Throughout the book, I list a lot of references and I list a lot of um, ideas and suggestions to people how to find help. I certainly, at the end of the book, I mean, what if unfortunately we've learned a lot about organ donation, and there's such a shortage of organs, and I always say the quickest way to get to heaven is to be an angel and save lives on earth. And the book lists all the possibilities where you can go, who has the shortest list, and it's really becomes a reference guide. It will explain how I got through it, and again, there's a lot of family dynamics too. We didn't even touch about, or we did touch, but very little. But I've had a wonderful support system. How grandparents, how uncles, aunts. My family has included Suzy in everything, and of course, her brother and sister are such champions for her. I also go into you don't go through what we've been through without having it affect a marriage. You don't get through this unscathed.
Right.
So, I talked a lot about how my husband and I, had to come to terms with there were only 24 hours in a day. I had three children, and she was like having six children all in one, and
Mm-hmm.
working. And not always. We had our trials and tribulations, and the book goes into. I believed if I was going to write this book, I had to put everything out there, and we had our problems. We had our issues in our marriage. We came together though, and he finally realized that if I were to have any peace, I had to do everything I could for Suzy. And even if that meant shortchanging him some of the time that he was so entitled. We had financial problems. This was all very, very expensive. And the school systems back then didn't assume responsibility for the child till they were 5 years old. And I wasn't going to wait till she was five. So we had some very, very hard times. But we got through them, and I don't regret anything in terms of doing without. We had to make sure that our children had everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and reading the book, you will certainly, and I've been told this, so I don't, I don't, it's very hard for me because I'm a humble person and I don't want to sound like I'm self-effacing, but I will tell you what other people have told me, how it helped them, it guided them, it became like a guidebook for them in terms
Nice.
of how to walk through this journey. And that makes me feel very satisfied because I didn't do this for monetary remuneration. I didn't do it for fame. I did it for what Suzy has done all her life is to help other people.
And I think that's an amazing story right there. I can feel Suzy right here, just speaking to me right here. I can just feel it. I mean, my gosh, so amazing what you did too. And lastly, where can we find your book, and how do people get a hold of you? What's your website?
I do have a website. It's Jane M. Fischer, Fischer, at gmail.com.
Okay, how about your website?
That's my website. Jane M. Fisher. Oh, I'm sorry, janemfisher.com. And I'm sorry, I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
My website is JYF as in fish 48, or I'm sorry, 048, JYF 048 at Gmail.
All
So
right. We'll certainly have people get in touch with you if you have any
I
questions,
just
concerns, or anything. But
I do want to show you this is Susie, just in case anyone.
well, okay. You want to go over to the right a little bit? Your left, your left, your left. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Wow. Very amazing woman.
She's
Very
incredible
amazing
lady,
daughter. Oh my gosh.
an incredible lady.
That is so incredible as hell. We're here with author Jane Fischer, amazing author Jane Fischer of If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few more things. Jane, what else can we expect in 2025 and beyond?
Oh my goodness, that's a very good question. Well, first of all, I'm getting older. So, it's scary. I'll be honest with you, Mike. Right now, Susie is part of a supervised living program called Jespy House in South Orange. But my greatest fear and what I don't know what to expect is to know that I'm getting older and what will happen to Susie, when I'm no longer here. Hopefully it will be a lot of years. I keep trying to negotiate with God, if you sent us for Susie for a reason. You have to keep me well so that I can take care of her. Her health is fragile. It's very, very fragile. We doctor a lot together. And I guess what the answer to your question, what do I expect? I expect to be able to find, and which I'm searching for now, to make sure that we have the proper support system in place so that when I'm no longer here, and Beth and Ben will be wonderful. I know they will be, but I'm also wise enough to know that they have their own lives and their own children and their own problems. So what I need to do in the future going forward is trying to find all the right support systems for Susie so that she'll be well taken care of.
And that's certainly very, very amazing as well. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career or in your journey, I should say?
I'm sorry,
Uh, uh, who, who, who do you consider biggest influence
her brother.
besides Susie?
Oh, besides Susie?
Yes.
The greatest influence. That's a very good question. I think the greatest influence for me, besides Susie, has I have to think about this now. Um, I'm going to give my husband the credit for that. I think that, he's his patience, his understanding that he married one woman. I was very quiet and demure. Susie gave me this voice. I've started organizations, special education organizations, special education socialization groups, life skills programs, and I think he married knowing what I became and tolerating me has probably been his greatest influence to me in my life.
Oh my gosh, that is certainly amazing. And lastly, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
My best advice and what I beseech people is to really, no matter how, I've been taught this by Susie, no matter how dark it is, no matter how, whatever life kind of throws your way, don't give up. Keep fighting. Find the reserve. Make some time for yourself. You need to be able to find some peace, whatever that is, whatever that means. But don't give up. Keep fighting. And most of all, remember, and as I always tell my kids, tomorrow might seem very bleak, but it's always darkest before the storm, and things will get better. You just have to hang in there and believe.
Hmm. And I think that's really excellent advice during this time as well. Here with the amazing author Jane Fischer of the memoir, If You Knew Suzy, Pushing Past the Boundaries of Never here on the Mike Wagner Show. Jane, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. That was an amazing story you gave. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Laugh, have you back. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your book?
The book is on sale on Amazon and Barnes and Noble websites. Please go out there and please purchase the book. It's a great read. It's an inspirational story. And as I say, I didn't do this for monetary remuneration. I did this to help others. So allow me to do that, allow me to help others and give me a review because that's how Amazon judges the books.
Correct. And we want everybody to do so as well. Once again, Jane, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. We wish our best. And Jane, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone.